Hey guys, today I want to show you how you can create a simple tech house track. Let's go. As always, I recommend finding a vocal first, so I found this one.
Celebrate this night with me, although it's not the last time.
Then I just added some reverb,
Although it's not the last time.
sidechain, and this delay. So now I had the foundation ready and I started writing my bass line. So tech house is very famous for its bass lines, and I came up with this one here. Your bass line doesn't have to be very sophisticated, it just needs to be a little bit groovy. So the sound is just a sine wave in operator, which is then being filtered with this envelope. Without any effects, it would sound like this. I added the drum bus for some distortion. I also added an EQ where I'm getting rid of some of the highs and some of the low end, because later on I want to add a sub-layer to this sound. I boosted the low end a little bit more with this multiband expander, added some more EQing, saturation. This EQ where I was getting rid of some unwanted frequencies here. Another EQ and some more saturation. I also added these pitch bends to the MIDI to give the whole bass line a little bit more of a groove. So now we've got the bass and the vocals. So then I just added this kick. Added a little bit of saturation. And I also added this weird noise here. So these four elements are basically everything that make up the verse of this track.
Although it's not the last time.
So as the verse progresses, it is slowly transitioning to the drop. So let's have a listen to that.
I wanna burn for you tonight. Celebrate.
All that's happening here is that I'm taking these hi-hats / shakers and I'm slowly filtering them in. At the same time, I'm also adding this white noise riser. And I'm muting all the elements except for the vocals 1 bar before the drop. So it kind of amplifies that contrast between verse and drop. In the drop, we have various elements going on now. So I'm going to start by explaining the drums a little bit. We've got the same kick as in the verse. This clap, which consists out of 3 different claps. A very snappy, kind of organic clap. This a little bit more widespread clap. And this kind of main clap, which is a little bit more powerful than the others. On the clap group, I'm just compressing them a little bit and I'm adding some saturation as well. Then we've got the tops here, so there's this head layer and this shaker layer, which were also being filtered in just before the drop. I didn't apply any processing to these 2 layers because they already sounded pretty good. I just changed the envelope a little bit of this shaker layer here, because without any processing it would sound like this. And I found it was a little bit too long for the first part of the drop, so I just cut out the last bit, the tail of this sample. And to create some movement in the track, I automated the mix of this effect, like this. So the tail of the sample is kind of fully cut out here, and in this section it gets reintroduced a little bit. This is just a tiny automation, but I think tech house really lives off of these kind of little things, these little automations. To keep it interesting, I added some small percussions and some fills. They sound like this. And I try to not put these fill elements together with the kick on the same beat, like this. So these fills are actually doing what the name says, they're filling the spaces between the kick and the other elements. All the drums together sound like this. For the bass, but I added this sub layer, which is just playing the very low frequencies. On the group bus, I glued everything together, I added some saturation, and I sidechained the whole bass to the kick. I also added this small change in the notes of the bass in the drop, just to make it a little bit more interesting. Together with the vocals, it sounds like this. Now I found that this sounded good, but it needed a little bit more elements, a little bit more texture. So I added this pad on top. And it's just playing one note that is basically being automated the whole time by the synth. I also added this little filter delay and some sidechain compression. To spice it up even more, I added this chord step. I added some compression, an EQ, this delay, which is really important. And again, some sidechain compression. For the effects, I added this weird high noise again. A vocal shot, this crash with a delay. This short noise where I automated the volume, and I added a short delay at the end of it. And I've also added this white noise riser from before. Altogether, the first part of the drop sounds like this. The second part of the drop is basically the same as before. I'm just adding some more small elements. The first one is this electric piano, which is just a patch from this Analog Lab library, together with some reverb, a delay, and sidechain. I added another chord step here. And I changed the first chord step here, in that I just added one note more, one octave higher, like this. Another layer I'm adding to the drums is this hi-hat layer here. And what I did here was I added the 16th notes to the piano roll. I shifted these notes slightly to the right to create this shuffle rhythm. And then I was just playing around a little bit with the velocity of the different notes. In addition to that, I'm automating the balance with this LFO tool here, so that every eighth note, the hi-hats are a little bit different on the stereo spectrum. Without it, it would sound like this. And with it, it just adds a little bit more movement to this layer here. And I just boosted the highs of the stereo signals a little bit. And that's basically everything that changes compared to the first part of the drop. I just realized that I forgot to explain the intro of the track. So it's very simple and it sounds like this. Again, we've got the kick here, we've got the bass here, we've also got that little clap fill here that's also playing in the drop. I just added some more reverb to it. And we've got the hi-hats I've just shown you with some delay on it. And again, this noise layer. Another thing I'm doing here for the whole intro and the whole length of the verse is that I'm actually cutting out all of the lows. Otherwise, there would already be too much energy, and we want that energy to hit in the drop and not before. And that were basically all the elements I used for creating this track. So this track is kind of a simple one. Of course, you can continue to add some more effects, more layers, whatever. But I think that especially tech house is kind of a genre that's quite straightforward. But I think that's also what makes it special. So yeah, try it out for yourself. Thank you a lot for watching, and let's hear the full result now.